Welcome to a very special IBC award ceremony. Here is your host, Kasia Madeira.
Hello and welcome everyone. A year ago, I was proud to host the IBC award ceremony on stage at the RAI. We had a great evening honouring the best in technology applications and corporate social responsibility. We recognised remarkable young talent like the wonderful Vera Bichler, and we rewarded a career of acting and directing innovation in Andy Serkis. Well, that was then, and this is now. I may still be in the sparkly dress, but I'm at home, and I'm guessing you are too. COVID-19 has transformed all of our lives in ways that we could not possibly have imagined a year ago. A global pandemic with the death toll approaching 1 million people, it has forced changes in behaviour and social practices on citizens everywhere. One of the inevitable consequences was the opportunity to meet up, share ideas and see the latest technology at a physical IBC. That included celebrating the best in the IBC awards. But it's important that IBC recognises in a very visible way the responsibility that has fallen upon broadcasting and in particular broadcast news. So this year IBC is presenting its highest accolade, the International Honour for Excellence, not to an individual or an organisation, but to the news broadcasters of the world, every one of them. This unique award goes to every journalist delivering clear and accurate information in an environment where it would be easy to bow to pressure, and to every editor, producer and engineer supporting this noble endeavour. To mark this, we've invited 6 of the world's leading organisations to tell us in their own words how they've approached the many challenges of COVID-19. First, the BBC takes us back to last December and those initial reports from China of a new infectious disease.
British scientists say the scale of a mystery virus in China might be far greater than authorities there have acknowledged.
The outbreak began in December in the central city of Wuhan.
The infection is a new type of coronavirus which originated in animals.
All these shops are closed, there's nobody on the street here.
जुहूदी से kudhibiti virusi vya corona China.
कोविड-19 संक्रमण का पहला दौर पार कर चुके कई देशों में.
My name is Temba Cosmos, calling from Nigeria. What are the symptoms?
She tells me she's glued to the news to find out about the latest cases.
It's the first British fatality from the coronavirus. The man had been a tourist on the Diamond Princess cruise ship.
It's official. The coronavirus is here in the UK.
Wash your hands from national anthem.
A simple instruction to us all. As catchy as the song that inspired this class in Belfast.
Prime Minister, are you telling people today that sooner or later all of our lives are going to be disrupted somehow?
From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
The first death from coronavirus in the UK as the number of cases doubles in just 48 hours.
Our aim is to try and reduce the peak to build up some degree of herd immunity as well, so that more people are immune to this disease.
The coronavirus newscast from the BBC.
Oh wow, people are stood out on the pavement.
People like me that are going to be looking after you when you're at your lowest. Just stop it, please.
The staff here are dealing with the biggest challenge ever faced by the NHS. They can save many of the patients, but sadly not all of them. And still, more patients keep coming every day.
It's hard to comprehend how historic these times are when you're living them. The lives and jobs lost because of coronavirus are destined to become chapter headings, not footnotes, in the public record. And in one corner of the East End, the work of a tiny morgue will become part of London's narrative.
The UK is now reporting the second largest official coronavirus death toll in the world.
Behind the statistics, the government charts, the number crunching, are the lives lost. Riccardo Bonsato, known as Ricky, was 54. He worked in a care home in Lancashire. Liz Spooner worked as a nurse at the same hospital in Swansea for 41 years.
COVID-19 has reached rural India. Bring oxygen, a woman pleaded, searching for doctors at a medical facility in the eastern state of Bihar. Her family struggled to revive her father-in-law, who was unable to breathe.
Staff at Wren Hall Nursing Home in Nottinghamshire focus on the complex care needs of each of their residents. They don't know how the virus first got in, but they've had 16 deaths linked to COVID-19.
In a crisis, trusted news becomes a precious commodity.
£330 billion of guarantees.
This place is usually densely packed, but like millions of others also facing logistical challenges, most editors and producers are now working from home. Broadcasting is always a technical adventure, but right now, more than ever.
Stand by in 5,
4,
3, 2,
1, and you're up.
This gives you an idea of how seriously people are taking this idea to leave Wuhan.
The official numbers in Brazil don't tell the whole picture, partly because there isn't enough testing.
Another record day here in Mexico, with health officials reporting more than 8,400 newly confirmed cases.
We've never experienced anything like this in 40 years of CNN, and we've seen a lot.
The first few weeks were non-stop as we figured out how to go live from people's living rooms, anchoring from someone's kitchen, and still make it look professional.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Christiane Amanpour. Tonight, we're broadcasting from my house here in London. As more and more people have to work from home, we do too.
So, we're about ready to go. We are 10 minutes away from air. Here is where I broadcast from. It is not a professional television studio, as you can see. It's a kitchen. This is my kitchen table. I have a sofa throw on the kitchen table to muffle the sound. I don't have a prompter, but my scripts are on this tablet, so I try to look down as little as possible, but this is the only script support that I have.
But we found that even in rooms across the globe, each person in a different room, and sometimes they were dealing with their family, their kids, we could still keep good communication and good collaboration in new ways.
Putting on, mask, putting on this protective gear because we're going to go into the ICU.
The machines are constantly going off, wearing this protective gear. These nurses, these doctors, they really have nerves of steel.
The government mandated that I had to install an app on my phone from the South Korean Ministry of Health and Welfare, which forces me to conduct a daily health check.
This has challenged us beyond our wildest imagination, and we've learned some tremendous new ways of operating from it.
We wondered how Spaniards are coping, but to hear from them, we had to extend our reach. In central Madrid, we found people still in remarkably good spirits.
You kind of realize really how much time you have in a day.
Our flight from Frankfurt to Porto is packed.
So as you can see, we're all sitting pretty close together, and that's one of the dilemmas that airlines face.
CNN decided we should return to Beijing and immediately limit our exposure to others. But we still wanted to tell the story, and we had 350 square feet to do it.
Audiences turn to us in record numbers throughout this across all of our platforms, and I'm so proud of how all of our teams out there have delivered for them.
Master, stand by to roll the brake. Bring in the copyright, Kim.
Standing by to roll brakes.
Roll the brake, Master.
And 3, 2, 1, and you're clear.
CNN has introduced the challenges for broadcasting in a pandemic. Some of the team from NBC News International now talk about trackers and shooting with iPhones.
I wanted to show you what life is like under lockdown here in Germany.
This is going to be my tracker for the next 14 days.
This is what stadiums will look like. No fans allowed inside.
It's called La Plaza de Toros de las Ventas. It's the cathedral of bullfighting here in Spain.
The coronavirus pandemic is exposing the true extent of social and economic inequalities in France's banlieue.
Shops are closed, the schools are shut.
Accusations of police brutality and racism have reignited long-standing tensions.
For black men,
That's bring memories of oppression, of slavery, of stuff like that.
That anger and that frustration that we see boiling over in cities across the United States, that has now made it here to Germany.
My last few days of compulsory quarantine after having entered Hong Kong almost 14 days ago, so I still have that wrist tracker on me.
ITN is one of the world's leading independent news providers, producing news and content for ITV, Channel 4 and Channel 5. When coronavirus hit, all of our news programmes stayed on air.
Pretty much overnight, we had to radically transform all the ways that we work. We were determined to stay on air across all our services, but also protect our staff and our contributors.
From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
As the crisis developed at home and abroad, the role of trusted TV news was more important than ever.
We wanted to be absolutely sure that we were factually correct, that we were delivering the message clearly, accurately.
People want someone to be straight with them. Ultimately, we're the only ones who can say, this is what we've seen, these are the stories we've heard, this is how we believe it is.
Viewing figures at the height of the crisis were up 50% for ITV Lunchtime News, 26% for ITV News at 10. And Channel 4 News doubled its audience among 16 to 34-year-olds.
The huge increase in our audiences across all demographics shows that at a time of crisis, people are still turning to traditional linear bulletins that are also regulated and have the public service broadcasting values.
We've seen compelling frontline reporting at home and abroad. During the lockdown, ITN produced 5.5 hours of live programming every weekday, bringing our viewers the stories that mattered. Lockdown for 3 weeks, enforced by the police.
UK deaths of people with COVID-19 reach a new record high.
England has had more excess deaths than any other European country during the pandemic.
Using technology and innovation, ITN adapted quickly to changed circumstances. Adhering to government guidelines, social distancing measures were introduced in all our newsrooms. Those in the office were kept to a minimum, and at the peak of the lockdown, around 80% of colleagues worked from home.
And good evening from my home tonight as Channel 4 News extends our own social distancing measures.
On location, risk assessments were strictly imposed, ensuring the health and safety of colleagues and contributors, keeping 2 metres apart and using boom poles for interviews.
What is it like being back playing tennis then?
The number of people in the studios and technical areas was streamlined.
Where possible, we do need to keep contact between all of us as minimal as we can.
And everyone else was kept at a safe distance. Despite all these challenges, we still managed to get more than 30 hours of live programming on air a week. It's not just on the airwaves where ITN has been making strides in delivering trusted, quality journalism. Our digital channels worked across social media, podcasts and the news websites to attract younger and diverse audiences with innovative content.
I think one of the key things about digital is that ability to reach new audiences in new types of ways. It just shows the value of quality news. At a time of crisis, people are coming to us not just on programmes but online.
With our fast turnaround long-form commissions, we've been able to explore the stories behind the headlines in greater depth. The past couple of months have been a monumental challenge for all of us. The unique circumstances of the lockdown have meant new ways of working and a new thirst from the audience for trusted, engaging news and current affairs programming.
The line in ITN's report that really jumped out at me was that Channel 4 News had doubled the size of its 16 to 34-year-old audience. Doubled. Now that tells me, in times of crisis, everyone is turning to broadcast news as the source of clear, independent and accurate information. But the spectre of misinformation and even willful manipulation of the truth is everywhere. This is very evident in Brazil. So as this report from TV Globo shows, broadcasters have to shoulder the responsibility of honesty and accuracy, even under huge government pressure.
A Globo está tomando medidas que possam contribuir para conter o avanço desta pandemia. Vai aumentar muito a presença do jornalismo e as novelas terão as gravações suspensas, como recomendam as medidas de prevenção.
A Globo também mudou a programação do jornalismo para prestar mais serviços na luta contra o coronavírus, chegando a 11 horas consecutivas no ar.
E essa edição começa com um aviso. A partir de hoje, os nossos repórteres vão passar a usar a máscara, inclusive quando aparecerem diante da câmera nas ruas.
Você tem que cuidar da equipe, que é algo assim que, para mim, é fundamental. Enquanto os companheiros de jornais impressos, sites, podem trabalhar de casa com prejuízos mínimos para a produtividade, você não faz televisão de casa exclusivamente. A gente até faz. Os companheiros que têm 60 anos ou mais ou comorbidades estão no ar, em casa. E você, então, tem que cobrir uma pandemia, ter um cuidado louco com as equipes e tem uma crise política do tamanho de um bonde.
O Jornal Nacional nunca deixou de ser o mais importante veículo de notícias do Brasil, mas, sobretudo, neste período, nós experimentamos, inclusive, um aumento de audiência, porque pessoas que têm 1000 fontes de informação, inclusive da imprensa profissional, na internet, voltaram a ver o JN nesse período, porque é aquele organizador da informação.
Principalmente em respeito às famílias de mais de 100 mil brasileiros mortos.
Cara, quem fala de eu não sou coveiro. Lamento, quer que faça o quê? Tem 12 minutos, está no ar, TV funerária, TV Globo.
Meu pai morreu de Covid. Isso ganha uma relevância muito grande, porque você se sente numa espécie de trincheira. Você percebe que a responsabilidade de checar e entregar a informação correta para as pessoas é como estar envolvido numa guerra, em que se você conseguir produzir uma checagem confiável e fazer com que ela chegue às pessoas, você pode estar salvando uma vida.
Em resposta à decisão do governo Jair Bolsonaro de restringir o acesso a dados sobre a pandemia de Covid-19, os veículos G1, O Globo, Extra, o Estado de São Paulo, Folha de São Paulo e o UOL formaram uma parceria inédita para trabalhar de forma colaborativa na busca de informações precisas e necessárias nos 26 estados e no Distrito Federal.
Tremendo acerto. A imprensa brasileira conseguiu prestar um serviço imenso à população, não despertar dúvidas, não despertar guerras de números e ter a chancela dos principais veículos de imprensa do país.
Se há um lado positivo em meio a essa pandemia, foi perceber o quanto a colaboração entre jornalistas e engenheiros permitiu a adoção de processos de produção inovadores e que vieram para ficar pós-pandemia. Migramos operações tradicionais em nossos estúdios para as residências dos jornalistas em Nova York e Londres e também em cidades como Rio de Janeiro e São Paulo. Viabilizamos a pós-produção remota para centenas de profissionais através do uso de tecnologias de nuvem. Alguns programas foram produzidos ao vivo inteiramente na cloud pública, com equipes técnicas e jornalistas trabalhando de suas próprias casas.
Em tempos de incertezas, nesse mar de informação, onde eu vou me segurar? Onde tem um porto seguro? E aí eu acho que o jornalismo cumpre esse papel lindamente. E não somos assim, eu, A, B ou C, é a imprensa, é o jornalismo profissional. A gente tem esse papel e é um papel lindo, eu acho.
Grown all too familiar with Zoom, NBC News International took the platform and turned it into a new sort of engagement with the audience.
This is a show called Global Hangout. We wanted to design a daily show, but we didn't have access to a control room or a studio. So we experimented with the Zoom platform and worked out how we could add some production values and professional graphics. And the result is this show, which last week hit its 100th edition and 10 million views on Facebook alone. This team have laboured and loved this show and nurtured it to where it is today. And they pulled together this rather wonderful short edit so you could see what they've been up to and what they've been producing. For me, this is a game changer. Take a look.
Conversations on coronavirus with those on the front lines of the fight. This is NBC's Global Hangout.
It sounds crazy, but basically everybody I'm testing is coming back positive.
New York went through this for what reason? Like, if no lesson was learned from it?
You're not going to believe what you're going to go through mentally.
They were looking for a second infection, and really I had about a 30% chance to live.
I almost lost my life 3 times in this 26 days.
Do you feel a sense of hopelessness?
I've had 54 doctor's appointments. I'm still deaf in my left ear, and I have minimal hearing in my right ear.
I was waiting for over a year to get this surgical hernia. 2 days later, everything's canceled, even my doctor's appointments because of the COVID.
That extra $600 a week saved my family. Now not having it, I don't know what we'll do.
When each of you sees me wearing this mask, is there a word that comes to mind to describe me?
It's you're showing consideration for the people around you.
Concern, that you're concerned for the community.
I would say sheep.
We both had our parents over, and immediately we all started to experience some symptoms. The total of 14 of us that caught it, one of us has passed away.
When the President of the United States says to people, when you loot, we shoot, it is a coded message approving vigilante violence.
I'm speaking from the perspective of an African-American female in law enforcement that fights for everyone.
Until the next time, stay safe, stay safe, stay safe, stay safe, and if you can, stay connected, stay connected, stay connected, stay safe, and if you can, stay connected.
Finally, we turn to India and Z Media.
People say in the news business, any crisis brings us more traction and more viewership. More breaking news means more action and more business for any news organization around the world. But COVID-19 was totally different. Breaking news was not just happening outside, but also inside our newsroom, inside our own studios. Z Media had more than 100 COVID-19 positive cases. My teammates, reporters, producers, and anchors had fallen victim to the virus. At one point, we were operating with just 20% of our workforce. There was a big challenge to ensure the safety of our team and their families. But we converted the challenges into opportunities. COVID-19 came with a lot of learnings, innovations, new business models, and a brand new workflow. Work from home was totally unthinkable for TV journalists till now. But now 50% of our workforce is contributing from home. Ground events have become webinars. Studio discussions are happening from homes, and video conferencing apps are the new TV studios and conference halls. Suddenly, health has become so important. In these times, the biggest challenge is to keep moving forward, to stay healthy, to keep our channels on air 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We have to keep ourselves safe, healthy, and ensure that our viewers are seamlessly kept informed all the time. As we continue to stay on top of the news curve, we hope the world flattens the COVID curve. In fact, we want to run a headline. It's a dream headline which says, "The pandemic is over."
Admirable words from Sudhim Chowdhury there. We all long for the day that we can start a bulletin with the words, "The pandemic is over." We've all heard time and again that audiences turn in huge numbers to their trusted news sources to get clear, accurate and unspun information. Broadcasters, while rooting out the truth, have led by example. As Deborah Turness, president of NBC News International, points out, technology has been challenged, but new ways of telling the story have led to new engagement with the audience.
I'm a great believer in the saying that necessity is the mother of invention, and that saying has never been more true than over the past few months. As lockdown hit, we experimented, we failed, we tried again, until we found new ways of using new technologies to produce our content. Like many across the industry, our team swapped the newsroom for their attics, kitchens and garden offices, for those of us fortunate to have one. But we went much further. We reworked our entire production model and have shown how technology can be harnessed to make us more agile, more nimble, more flexible, and at ultra low cost. We've swapped control rooms for laptops. We've been able to replace studios with Zoom, and in many cases used iPhones where we might have traditionally used conventional TV cameras. And this tech innovation has also helped us develop a more authentic style of reporting, one that feels more transparent and real and closer to the experiences and lives of the people who consume our news content.
This is not a time for celebration, but we can and should recognise and applaud the efforts of everyone in news. In this very unusual IBC award ceremony, there is no one winner. Instead, this year's International Honour for Excellence is for all the world's broadcasters. So rather than an acceptance speech, we've invited the BBC's medical editor, Fergus Walsh, to give his individual viewpoint.
It's a great pleasure and an honour to acknowledge this award on behalf of the news broadcasters of the world. It recognises the vital role that fair, fearless and accurate reporting has played in coverage of the pandemic. I've been reporting on medical science and global disease threats for 16 years. You could say I've been waiting much of my career for a pandemic. Now it's here, like everyone else. I just wish it was over. At the start of the outbreak in China, there was uncertainty about what impact the virus might have around the world. Impartial and informed journalism was vital in those early stages in presenting the potential health risks to the public without causing undue alarm. It remains as important now as it did then. In the fast-moving world of broadcast journalism, it's crucial that sources are checked and information is verified so that fact can be separated from fiction. I've reported from hospitals around the world, yet nothing prepared me for what I saw in the intensive care units here in England. Being an eyewitness to such events has left an indelible impression on me. In bed after bed were COVID-19 patients on ventilators, their lives hanging in the balance as a result of this brutal disease. Doctors, who were normally so certain about the best treatments, told me they were at a loss to know how to save them. It was a privilege to be allowed to report firsthand on their work at a time when hospitals were off limits to most people, when the country was in lockdown. And it was a great responsibility to convey what we'd seen, to show the very sharp end of the COVID health crisis. News teams across the world have done the same. They've reported without fear or favour, often in hugely difficult circumstances involving remote working and amid restrictions on travel. Yet this has been so much more than a health story. Coronavirus has had a profound impact on the global economy, on travel, education, on every part of our lives. Broadcast news has a fundamentally important role in reporting all aspects of the pandemic. This means not just repeating press releases or reading out the latest figures, but giving analysis and context so the public and policymakers can be better informed. TV reporters and presenters usually get the credit and the criticism for broadcast news. But this award rightly celebrates all those who've played a vital role in reporting the pandemic. The producers, camera crews, engineers, studio teams, and a whole range of technical staff. On behalf of all of them, all over the world, thank you.
Thank you, Fergus. Thank you everyone who has contributed to this programme. And thank you to news broadcasters everywhere. I hope that you've enjoyed this unique awards presentation, and I very much hope to see you all next September back in Amsterdam.